start with, we are just wanting to put it out there that this isn't something new. ACE is the way of packaging things that we've known about for a long, long time in working with traumatised or marginalised, or however it used to be packaged. I mean, the service that I particularly work in, for over 20 years, we've looked at negative childhood events. And we've recorded that over 20 years, and we've been able to work in a way that was reflective of supporting that. What ACES gives us is a really lovely packaged framework that gives a shared understanding, but a shared language that is particularly useful when we're going into work with schools. And that's what we're going to be thinking about this afternoon, or this evening, sorry, where are we? It's been a traumatic, so I'm sharing my trauma this evening. So it's about strong trust in relationships, so I'll expect you to be strong and trusting and helpful for me today. So what we're going to be thinking about are these strong and trusting relationships, and that was something Dan had spoken about. Who are these people that are working with these really traumatised families and children who quite often for multiple generations have been dealing with these same hardships? It's very much looking at an ethos of nurture and respect, but about being holistic and being solution focused, and not thinking that there's one thing that we can go in and do, or there's one thing or one service that's got the answer to it. It's not about that. It's about all of us working together in a very holistic way to provide what's available for us. Martin's going to speak a little bit more about the direct work, and I'll show you some examples of that now.
Okay. This piece of work I thought was a really good one to share, because it came from a young person we supported through a project that was delivered across 3 secondary schools in Scotland as part of an early intervention pilot for young people against bereavement, trauma and loss. The work came off of work that Barnardo had done a couple of years ago in Polmont with men who'd experienced bereavement, and we wanted to see how that would work with young people in terms of supporting them a little bit earlier. The original piece of work that was carried out was set out as a programme, but what we recognised when we were thinking about how we were going to work with young people was that it really had to be very flexible about how we actually work with them. So we changed the programme and instead adapted it into a basket of interventions for young people, recognising that they would be at different points in their journey, at different places that might mean they weren't necessarily ready to engage in intensive work, and instead we had different pieces of work that we could do with them depending on where they were at on that journey. So those included things like genograms, life story work, graphic facilitation, and also talking to the young people about the stress response system, so they actually understood the biology of stress, so that for the ones that weren't able to link that to their own experience, they had that little bit of knowledge that then actually they could take away themselves and reflect on what that meant for them. This piece of work here came from a young person who has very kindly agreed that we could share it tonight. She was really quite amazing. She had had a lot of difficulty in her life and was actually really, really resilient, but actually didn't recognise herself. The work that took place with her, it took a long time just to build a relationship and actually to know her. So it actually had quite a nice flow to the work, just in terms of her sharing some of her own experiences in a place where she felt safe. So somewhere that's quite quiet. As part of a relationship where actually the only role that I had with her was to actually just listen, just to get to know her, to find out what it was, what her experiences were, and help her to understand that a bit more. And then through that work, in terms of going through what she had experienced, we could change the narrative that she had to a strengths-based one, rather than focusing on the negatives. So what we started to look at was, although she'd had all these really difficult experiences in life, what were the things that she had relied on during those difficult periods that had kept her strong during that and made her the resilient young person that she was. So really, by doing this piece of work, we were able to help her to understand herself, understand what her experiences meant for her, and give her the tools that actually, if she then had difficulty later on, she knew the things that she could rely on round about her to help her and to support her. During the work that we're carrying out with children and young people in school, we are looking at children's rights and taking that child-centred approach to support, but also understanding that children don't exist in isolation, they exist within a range of different systems. So the child as part of a family, which is part of a wider family within the wider community, as part of a class, school within that community as well. And when we're looking at the difficulty that the child is facing, we want to take the time to explore the systems that they're in to find out where the adversity is coming from, what is the actual cause of it, and then put supports in place to try and support that, so that we can make sure that that child has been treated fairly, that where their behaviour is sometimes seen as a difficulty, that actually the support that they're getting is fair to them, and not punishing them for a response to the trauma that they're experiencing. This one here was just another great example. We work with some really great kids, and they're all great, but this wee guy gives me loads of material to talk about and to share, and this one nearly had me crying during the one-to-one with them. I think our children, and this is quite a young child, he was primary 3 age, they're, I think, capable of so much more than we sometimes think. During a one-to-one with them, I was talking with them about feelings. Quite often with children, we're not actually helping them to label the feelings that they have, and we're quite quick to go from, right, okay, so you're angry, but we're going to do this about it, rather than taking the time to say, okay, you've identified you're angry. What is it that's actually telling you that you're angry? What's happening inside your body? How can we understand that? And with this young person, we were doing an activity around about that, and we had a page with different emotions on it. And when we were speaking about love, I just said to him, what is love? And this is his response. Your heart is a teddy bear inside of you, it makes life better. And he used a lot more words than that, which I won't use because we'll all be in tears. But really, a lot of the support that we do with young people for the one-to-one support is really about helping them to understand where their feelings are coming from, how they identify that, and then how they can then plan the responses to them.
I'll give that back to my able assistant. What Martin was saying there was very much the ethos of what we do in schools. It is very much about getting to know the child and get to know exactly what's going on for them. And we've had to be really quite careful going into schools, particularly looking at language around ACEs, because as Dan was saying as well, a lot of schools have done a half-day input, or they've done some input on an in-service day, which is great. It's about raising the ACE awareness. That is not ACE-aware practice or trauma-informed practice. That is a journey that we're all at different stages of. I've gone into schools and heard teachers saying, I'm going to ACE score all my primary ones. And it's, why would you do that? What are you going to gain from doing that? And also, where are you going to get that information? From parents and families who are very disengaged with the education system on a lot of bases. So for us, it's about us supporting the schools to better understand those impacts that are there. I mean, just a small example would be a young child in class who was walking out and would storm out of the classroom when things became challenging or difficult. It was then described to the worker by the class teacher as attention seeking. He's just always in trouble. That family need to stop having kids. And it was all those sort of judgmental pieces of information that were there. And it's about working with schools in a way that is respectful to a point, but also will respectfully challenge, and is willing to have the difficult conversations and give people space to think sometimes. For us, it's about helping schools move away from punitive models, where it is about seeing the child as a problem and seeing the behaviour as a problem, rather than seeing that behaviour as a communication, and seeing it as something that we need to understand, and we need to work in a much more therapeutic and just a kinder way with not only the child but also with the wider family. One of the main things that we've like to talk about today as well is about the need for good supervision in schools. As practitioners and as workers, when I was a family worker, I had good, regular monthly supervision. And within the care sector, and sometimes within the health sector, that's available to us. And Dan spoke about the value of that in Kibble. For us, we're going in and working with teachers who are working with these same traumatised children and families who do not have that system of support. And quite often it's that 10 minutes caught with the Barnardo's worker or the Children First worker, or whichever service is in providing support at that time, who becomes a listening ear for the teacher, because there's nowhere else for that support to come from. So we need to think about how are we supporting the caregivers to give the care. It's very much, when I used to deliver parenting groups, I used to always say to the parents, you can't pour from an empty vessel. If you don't nurture the parents so they've got the capacity themselves to care, they can't give it to their child. And it's the same in schools. These classes are sometimes, we know what classes in Scotland can be like, vastly different demographics, a variety in need, some diagnosed needs, some behavioural needs, some emotional needs, but there's needs throughout the class. And it's how do we support the teachers to allow them to do that in a much more effective way. So what we're hoping to do is to promote whole school approaches, and that is about building communications and trust in relationships. We have, as services, got very good relationships across schools in Scotland, but it's about building that base and building that trust base there, and helping schools and school staff to understand it's not always just about what happens in the classroom, it's what happens, and it's very much that before and beyond the school gates. How are these children coming prepared to school in the morning? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Did they have a bed to sleep in? Have they got bedding? Is the house cold? Is the house damp? Were mum and dad fighting last night? Is dad using again? It's all these questions, and the child brings all these in their little backpack every day and is sometimes met with, why don't you have your PE kit with you? And that's very low on the list of priorities for these children and families. So for us, in terms of looking at the before and beyond the school gate, it's about an awareness that we need universal support for families. It's not just the families who are thought of as being problems, or the traumatised, or the damaged, or the families living in neglect, or the families living in poverty. All families need support. All parents need support. So it's what can we provide on a universal basis within school support groups for that. There is a place for intensive family support, and that has to be the right support from the right people at the right time. So it's got to be the timely support. So we need to think about ourselves as organisations and how responsive are we? Have we got waiting lists? What are these waiting lists like? How are they managed? Because if we have a referral coming in from a school from family in crisis, and in effect you're saying, well, we can get to you in 12 weeks, that's not trauma-informed practice, and it's not that responsive care that we would hope to have. We would like to support schools, particularly in looking beyond the presenting issues, as we said, and taking that no-blame approach, seeing the behaviours for what it is, a communication. There's also the need for good CPD opportunities in schools and looking at modelling behaviours in schools, and again about taking it beyond a half-day input or coming and talk for half an hour on the in-service day about trauma-informed practice, and you go in and you think half an hour, but the school has ticked that box on we have covered trauma for this session. We have to, again, just coming back to the thing and awareness that we've worked with the factors around ACEs for many, many years, and there is almost an intuitive belief and response in all of us that we know what to do and we know what we would like to do. It's about how do we build on that and how do we make it something that has a national focus, and that looks like that's what Scotland's trying to do. And this aim for Scotland to become an ACE aware nation is amazing, and the fact that we're all going to be part of that together is the really important thing, because it is together, it's not one agency working there within it. So in terms of that working in partnership, what we need to be careful is about promoting the best use of often very limited services and avoiding duplication, because quite often again, referring back to schools particularly, if they have a child or a family that the school are really worried with, referrals will go out to every agency that the school can possibly think could offer support. And it's almost just chuck it out, see what sticks, and then where do we come back from that? And getting it right for every child has certainly given us a framework and a capacity to look at not duplicating, having our lead professionals, having our named person, and having some process ensuring that the work is the best target as it can possibly be. It's still got a way to go, without a doubt, but that's, again, it's something for other conversations. And also just the belief that effective early intervention for children and families will reduce the strain on future medical services, and we know how much difficult CAMs are under at the minute. So anything we can do to sort of look at reducing that back a little bit through the pathways is better. So I'll hand you back over to Martin.
Just for a wee final bit, just the data, when we're looking at new models of working, we compared data from having family support workers based directly in schools, taking a relationship-based approach, to general family support teams, and use social work intervention as an indicator of crisis. And what we've identified is that by having workers using a relationship-based approach directly in communities, we are reaching families much earlier than we were before. Families are much more comfortable to come forward and say, I need help with this, because they know who the worker is when they're in the school. Staff know what support is available right there in the community. And children and young people have more capacity to come forward when things are starting to get difficult, that we can then stop them from reaching that crisis point. And that's just a nice wee finishing off slide. Overall, generally in terms of the work that we have done, it is about having that wide range of tools that are there and not being prescriptive about what we're doing, and making sure that in every interaction we're having with children, young people and with parents and other adults, that we are making sure that everyone feels cared for.
Thank you.